What has your deconstruction journey been like? We came up with an analogy in our latest episode of the Dan and Cam podcast, and see if this compares anything to what you may have experienced. This analogy is just like the old story you used to hear. I didn't actually experience this, but it gets told a lot by a lot of aging parents to their young children. How their dad took them out to the lake, rode them out to the middle of the lake, said, "Hey," in my case, "Hey boy, it's time to learn how to swim," and just kind of picks me up and throws me in and says, "I'll see you at shore." And then he rows back into shore saying, "Sink or swim." For us, that was kind of how our deconstruction was, because I grew up Catholic and then went into evangelicalism, but I always had this background of faith, of this experience of this God. The old Catholic guilt was deep inside me, and that got played on and used in evangelicalism and refurbished and polished up a little bit into their own form of guilt and shame to put upon myself. Candy grew up in evangelicalism. It's all she ever knew. And in this was our safety and our comfort. So then we started getting curious, looking outside of ourselves, looking for answers to questions that were being refused to be answered because they were too difficult to answer. They may have contradicted some of the doctrine that was being taught. Or quite frankly, the person that was supposed to be the direct conduit to God in our lives wasn't hearing clearly from him on these sort of issues. So we never got the answer. So we started looking, we started finding, we started pulling away from what we'd always found as our home and our security and our safeness. And we were in the middle of the lake. When we stepped away from the church, we were sinking, and we had to learn how to swim. And by golly, we started learning how to swim. Started paddling and kicking and flailing all around until we started to bring ourselves up to the surface again and struggling mightily to get back to shore. But as we got back closer to shore, we started noticing that there were other people around in our same situation, swimming and struggling, trying to get back to safety. And we realized that if we came together and met, we could form our own new little bond and group and learn from the experiences that we have, to be open and free, to be challenged in what we believed and thought, and have that open, free discussion, being able to walk away understanding I don't have the truth, but I'm willing to learn more, to sharpen that truth inside of me, and to be able to have contradictory views presented to me, and to be open for discussion. Not anyone in there had to be absolutely right. They all could have different opinions, and we could just walk away without disagreeing, without agreeing, and still get along happily and be friends. It was a completely different experience, but it was something we had to struggle through. We had to learn through. We felt ourselves in peril at first, but we got to our destination eventually. Does that hold true for anyone else out there?